Welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level social studies lesson, and we're going to be continuing our discussion about suffragists. So in this lesson, we'll think about Susan B. Anthony. Um, this photo was taken at the White House on her 80th birthday, and she was invited there by President William McKinley. And in 1979, coins with her image were created to celebrate her life and achievements. So, what do you know, if anything, about Susan B. Anthony? What can you learn about her from her pictures? And are these examples of primary or secondary sources? And if you don't know, don't worry, we'll be talking about all of these things during this video. All right, so first we're going to review some vocabulary. So again, you can pause the video, try this on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. Right, so a meeting in court to decide if someone is guilty of a crime or not, that would be number 5, a trial. A person who fights for social or political change, that would be number 7, an activist. The place where people vote, that's number 3, polling station. A person who is in a position of power, that would be number 4, an official. The fact of being equal in rights, status, advantages, etc., that would be number 1, equality. A law or set of laws is number 2, legislation. And the fair treatment of people is number 6, justice. All right, so we're going to read the text and complete with the words. You can either pause the video and try this on your own, or you can follow along. And first we have an expression here. Pave the way is an idiom that means to make something possible. Okay, Susan B. Anthony was an American women's rights activist who lived from 1820 to 1906. She was born in Massachusetts and grew up believing in social equality and justice. In the 1850s, Anthony became involved in the women's suffrage movement, which aimed to give women the right to vote. She traveled around the country giving speeches and organizing meetings. She was a powerful voice for women's rights. In 1869, Anthony founded the National Women's Suffrage Association with her friend and fellow activist, Elizabeth Cady Stanton. The organization worked to secure the right to vote for women through both state and federal legislation. Anthony also played a key role in the creation of the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which gave women the right to vote. All her work helped pave the way for future generations of women to participate in society. All right, I will read the next text and answer the questions. In 1872, Susan B. Anthony decided to test the law that stopped women from voting in New York by trying to vote in the presidential election. She went to the polling station with 3 of her friends and asked to vote. However, the officials did not want to let her vote because she was a woman. Susan B. Anthony argued that the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which granted citizenship and equal protection under the law to all persons born or naturalized in the United States, gave her the right to vote as a citizen. She didn't listen. She registered her name and voted. 2 weeks later, she was arrested for voting illegally and forced to go to trial. So why did Susan B. Anthony go to the polling station? Because she wanted to vote and she wanted to test the law that stopped women from voting. And so what happened at the polling station? The officials didn't want to let her vote, but she went ahead and registered and voted. And what do you think the officials thought of her? Now, this is more of an opinion question. They might have thought she was crazy. They might have, thought, they might have laughed at her, any number of things. They might have been angry that she was trying to test the law in this way. During her trial, Susan B. Anthony argued that women, because they were citizens of the United States, had the right to vote under the 14th Amendment. However, the judge did not think this was a good argument, and they told the jury to find her guilty. She was found guilty and was ordered to pay a fine of $100. She refused to pay and continued fighting for women's right to vote. When Susan B. Anthony got arrested for voting, it made more people notice and support the issue of women's suffrage. So, what reason did Susan B. Anthony give that she should be able to vote? Well, the 14th Amendment said that anybody who was a citizen could vote, and because women are citizens, she felt that women should be included under the rules of the 14th Amendment. What was the result of the trial? She was found guilty and ordered to pay a fine of $100. And how did this event help the women's suffrage movement? It made more people notice and support the issue. Mr. Beverly W. Jones was an election official in Rochester, New York, who spoke with Susan B. Anthony in 1872. First, we have some vocabulary. We have remark, which means to comment. The right of franchise means the right to vote in elections, and to be acquainted with means to know about something. She made her appearance in the room and asked if this was the place where they registered voters. We answered her that it was. She said that she was a citizen of the U.S. and demanded her right to be registered. I made the remark that I didn't think we could register her name. She asked me upon what grounds. I told her that the Constitution of the state of New York only gave the right of franchise to male citizens. She asked if I was acquainted with the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, and I told her I was. So why did Jones think women couldn't vote? Well, he said that the Constitution of the state of New York only gave the right to vote to male citizens. And why did Anthony disagree? Because the 14th Amendment to the Constitution gives the right to vote to all citizens. And is this an example of a primary or secondary source? So what do you think? Right, a brave woman. Read Tisha's opinion of Susan B. Anthony. In my view, Susan B. Anthony was a very brave woman. She was never afraid of what might happen. One example of this is when she went to the polling station to vote, even though she knew she might be arrested. Another example is when she was found guilty and given a fine. She just refused to pay it. When I'm feeling scared, I simply remember her. So what does Tisha think of Susan B. Anthony? She thinks that she was very brave. What examples does she give? The example is when she went to the polling station, even though she knew she might be arrested. And then when she was found guilty and given a fine, she refused to pay it. And do you agree with Tisha? Why or why not? Now we're going to read Morris's opinion. I believe that Susan B. Anthony was a really intelligent person. For instance, when she went to the polling station, she didn't just say that she wanted to vote. She explained why she had the right using the U.S. Constitution. She was able to convince the supervisor of elections. She used logic and the law to support her opinion. So what does Morris think of Susan B. Anthony? He thinks that she was a really intelligent person. And the examples that she gives is that she used the U.S. Constitution to support her argument. So using logic and the law. And do you agree with Morris? Why or why not? All right, and as we saw in the last video, these are some phrases for giving opinions and then giving reasons and examples. You can look back and see which ones did Tisha and Morris use. So think about what we have learned about Susan B. Anthony and then discuss these questions. So what three words would you use to describe her? And what do you think was the most impressive thing that she did? And again, these are more just your opinions, but you can use those words and phrases to give your opinions and reasons and examples. And then you can prepare to write your own short text about your views on Susan B. Anthony. And here again are some of the words and phrases that you can use in your own writing. All right, we'll do a vocabulary review. The women's suffrage movement fought for equality between men and women in voting rights. The government added an amendment to the Constitution which gave women the right to vote after years of protests. Susan B. Anthony was a brave activist who fought for women's suffrage, working for years until her death. The suffrage movement was a civil rights movement fighting for the right to vote for all citizens regardless of sex. Susan B. Anthony tried to vote in the presidential election. Susan B. Anthony was found guilty of voting illegally, and Susan B. Anthony did not pay the $100 fine that she was asked to pay. And so here are some reflection questions. Who was Susan B. Anthony? What did she do? And why is she still remembered today? And you can take a few moments and answer those. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share. If you have any questions, leave those for me in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.